When I was a federal minister of public safety, responsible for being on top of things like terrorism and those types of people who will be a danger to our communities, again, I was motivated by the future for my kids, for my grandkids, for your kids, for your grandkids, for your friends and neighbors. That's why things like mass immigration and the possible violence that can bring have always been a concern to me. You know, when I posted my concerns about mass immigration and the danger that that brings to any country that embraces that policy, I knew it would be hitting a nerve, but I had no idea that hundreds of thousands of people would respond in a supportive way, like within hours. And people are also saying, why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? Like, thank you for saying this. Are you planning on running for office? I'm doing this because I'm concerned. I'm concerned for my kids, for my grandkids, for the future. If we don't have policies that protect our nation, protect our families, then we are really at risk.
Israel, burn, burn!
Israel, burn, burn! Fanning the flames. Politicians across the country accusing speakers at a downtown pro-Palestinian rally of crossing the line.
Death to Canada! Death to the United States! And death to Israel!
Critics, including the federal Conservatives, saying the Liberal government must take action.
Samadoun has been fomenting these violent and horrific protests and mob actions. This organization is a front for an already banned terrorist group.
People still ask me, well, what do you think of Pierre, the leader of Canada's official opposition? Well, I'll tell you what I think. First of all, I used to be leader of Canada's official opposition, and that is one tough job, I can tell you. And Pierre Poilievre is one tough guy, and he's a smart guy. He used to work for me, came to Ottawa with me, and then he went on and really made a name, not just for himself, but for the country. He's the opposition leader now. I love the job he's doing. So typical to see him getting beaten up by culturally Marxist media, but he's doing a great job. We've seen what mass immigration does to countries in Europe, and now we have the federal Liberal government in Canada talking about mass immigration. They've actually got a policy out there called the Century Policy. They want to get the population in Canada, which, I mean, it's anybody's guess, probably in the low 40 millions right now, up to 100 million. That's called mass immigration. And every time in history that's tried, the country that it's tried in winds up getting hurt. Pierre Poilievre realizes the danger of that. He's the official opposition leader in Canada. He's quite rightly speaking out about that type of mass immigration. It's dangerous.
Earlier this week, Mark Carney added Mark Wiseman to his list of advisors on Canada-U.S. relations. Mark Wiseman was the co-founder of the Century Initiative, a lobby group that wants to bring Canada's population to 100 million people by 2100. Can I get your reaction to that, and what do you think, how do you feel about the idea of rapidly expanding Canada's population to reach 100 million by the end of the century?
Well, it shows that the Liberals would be no different in a fourth term than they were in the first three. The Liberals destroyed our immigration system in their first three terms in power. They followed a radical globalist ideology of massive, uncontrolled population growth.
I agree with Pierre Poilievre. 100 million population in Canada, boosting that up from what, the low 40s that we're in right now? Mass immigration accelerated, not good. Pierre Poilievre is right on this. When I had the honor of serving in Canada's Conservative government under Prime Minister Stephen Harper, whatever job I was assigned, whether it was Minister of Public Safety, responsible literally for the safety of our citizens, or Minister of International Trade, responsible for trade deals with other countries to keep Canada prosperous, or head of the Treasury Board, which is involved in the entire regulatory system, the system and regime of rules that sometimes stifle our citizens, I was always thinking about my kids, my grandkids. And that's why even now with Pierre Poilievre, who's the leader of the opposition, a position I once had, and in that position when Pierre Poilievre worked for me, we were concerned for the same things. We wanted prosperity, safety, security for our kids, for our grandkids. And present policies from the governments, not just in Canada, but others, are putting those securities at risk. The other thing that's a real concern to me is people are afraid to speak up on these issues because of the consequences they face. And I found by speaking on these things just recently or even in the past, it gives people hope, it gives people courage. That's why I'm speaking out, and that's why I'm not going to stop speaking out.